Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Not just a big welcome back to the Fallout Hour, but welcome back to darts. It is back after the Christmas break. We know you all missed it. We saw it all over social media everywhere. Myself, Jack Garwood, joined by the one named Mr. Dan Simpson. Dan, how are you doing, buddy?
Very, very well indeed. And pleased in a way that we haven't got much to talk about tonight. Nice and quick one. No major headlines, no major stories. Pretty standard night in the world of dart news, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, nothing happened at all today on the return to darts, of course. How is everybody in the chat room? Good to have you all back with us. Plenty of conversation going on already. Jesus in, as is Bob, Sam, someone called Dan Simpson. I wonder who that is. Kieran's in, Harry, Craig, HJV. All your regulars are back in, chatting away. Tommy, Daniel, Adam is in as well. Bob's in. Good to see you all, and Jack as well. Darts is back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a few more days in a row now as we move into the last 32. Changing format, best of 7 sets now. Quick reminder of that for when we're doing predictions later on. First of all, though, Dan, let's just reminisce about the fact you and I actually met in person very, very recently and went to the darts together. Yeah. That was a great afternoon, wasn't it?
It was super, and it is what is quite odd is over the last couple of years, you I think were probably the last remaining member of the hardcore of the team that I've managed to share a few. Certainly a few nights out with Boise, with Jar, with Phil. Cam and I get together quite a bit, but you and I have never managed to be in the same place at the same time. So no, it was really, really good. And we had a cracking day. We think we picked a good day to get to the darts as well. It was a thoroughly good and entertaining trip. It was smashing.
It was a decent little session as well, wasn't it? Which definitely helped. Obviously, your son's first trip to the darts as well. The look on his face when we first went into that arena was absolutely priceless, mate. He loved it. But I think being called Mr. Gobble Day was one of the weirder parts of it.
I was telling my wife about it. I said it's dead funny. I said it's a good thing. It's a sign that I'm bringing that the kids are getting brought up correctly. Like because he knows he's talking to an adult, but it's gobby. So he doesn't quite know what to do with that in terms of so. He spent the whole day and just went with Mr. Gob, which I think was very, very level, very suited.
Yeah, I mean, I get called many, many things. 99.9% of them are nowhere near that polite. So, yeah, it was a fantastic afternoon. Got to catch up with some few people as well. And as we said, took your lad along to the very first. And we got to experience rugby services, which are world class, by the way.
Elite services, rugby services are elite in the services. Certainly, if you drive an electric car, they are right up there at the top of the pecking order.
They are indeed. Right, that's enough chatting about our day. Now, I suppose, mate, we're going to have to get on to chatting about what happened throughout the day because there are 6 matches for us to talk through. Thankfully, not 8, or we might be here a little while. But we start with the pretty comfortable passage into the last 16 for the Belgian number 1, Dimitri van den Berg, a 4-1 victory over Christoph Ratajski. Pretty solid all-round performance from Dimitri. Just seemed to have Christoph Ratajski in all of the key moments in this battle.
Yeah, I think you've used the right phrase there, like key moments. Other darts folk would say the right things at the right time. In terms of the level at
wrong nationality for that one.
Yeah. In terms of the level in which they played, very similar. One different in the 180s thrown, less than 1 point in the average difference. Statistically, these threw at a very, very similar. Just going through the statistics in terms of how close the level they were at were. Dimi threw 14 140s, Ratajski threw 13. Ton plus throws, 34 for Dimi, 35 for Ratajski. I suppose the biggest difference, which is what's got the job done in the end, is 52% on your doubles for Dimi against 36% against Ratajski. It is just doing the right things in the right moments. Now, in terms of legs, Dimi had almost double the legs, 12 legs to 7 in the end, the way that the game went. But it is just right things at the right time. And, that scoreline looks, I think the scoreline is very flattering because it wasn't a 4-1 drumming in terms of the level at which they were playing darts. Dimi just did execute those checkouts in a very professional and calm way. He looked very measured as well. I thought he looked more comfortable than I've seen him probably certainly in 6 months. just in the way he was approaching the hockey, the way his throw was going. Yeah, very, very comfortable. We'll see. I mean, we talk about his next match later on potentially. We won't throw out any spoilers for those that don't know what's happened this evening.
No, we won't. Look, double percentage is the key takeaway there, isn't it? It's 52% from Dimitri, who, as you said, looks so much more calm up on the hockey. There was a couple of moments where perhaps you felt a bit like just get on with it. The end of the very, very first set got very, very tense up on stage. Both players missing darts left, right, and centre. The big reset from Dimitri that seemed to frustrate Ratajski a little bit. But I guess the difference is that the comfortable that I'm seeing from Dimitri right now, I think I can put to the fact that he's gone back to a set of darts that resemble those that he won titles. So if there are subtle changes to it to get around copyright rules and all of that sort of thing, but they're as close as you are physically allowed for him to get to throw in a unicorn dart while being manufactured by Target. And the second thing is he just has extra gears. Ratajski is just very, very steady on TV, but it doesn't really seem to have that shift of gear, that change of pace where he can take the game away from you for a few minutes. Dimitri's done that, dropped off at times, but because he was so comfortable and in the legs where he has switched off, it's reflected badly on his average. But other than that, he's just had Ratajski exactly where he wanted him all day, hasn't he?
Yeah, and you know, I've never been a big fan. I quite like Ratajski as a bloke, if you like, but I've never been a particular fan of watching his games. It doesn't excite. It's almost robotic, I think, in his consistency level. He seems to turn up and start playing at a level, and he'll just continue that level throughout the day. And it'll in terms of over the course of a season, that's great because he'll always be, you know, a high level performer. In terms of getting him through matches where he needs to inflict a bit of emotion into it, try and up his pace, try and fight in a battle almost. He doesn't seem to have that about his game. It's very, very consistent, but he can't quite get through those scrappy elements.
Yeah, the chat room got this right for me, comparing it to James Wade. We said that an awful lot about Wade. If Wade comes out and averages 92 for the first set, Wade is going to stay at 92 for the entire. I feel like Ratajski's the same. If he comes out and averages 104, you're going to be very, very hard pushed to get him off that 104. But he just wasn't at that level today, was it? It's cost him.
No, absolutely not. And Dimmy, again, you know, wasn't amazingly consistent. We haven't seen the best of him yet in this tournament, but we've seen a better Dimmy in the last, 3, 4, 5 weeks than we have seen for the 3, 4, 5 months before that. So I suppose there's only one way to go from here.
There is to hear from Dimitri van den Berg in his post-match press.
I've got twice a quarterfinal here at the World Championship, so you do know that you can go deep in tournaments like this. But take it step by step. I've always done it. Now the good thing is, I know from the past of my games that I can win tournaments where best of the best are competing. And you know what? This feeling is what I've got to work on. That's what I've got to believe in. But yeah, I've got another day on the practice board, and I will use that very wisely.
Yes, I did just cut myself off before I introduced that video. Evening, Preston. Good to see you, buddy. Nice to have you in. It's completely fine that you forgot. Don't worry about us. We're still here. We're still cracking on. But if you hit subscribe, then you'll get notified that we're about to go live, and then there's no excuse to forget, is there? Which is a subtle hint to everybody else watching as well. On to match number 2, and a very, very strong argument for this to be the game of the day. If we were to give that award out, a superb battle between Nathan Aspinall and Josh Rock, with the up-and-coming Joshua Rock, the world youth champion, getting the better of Nathan Aspinall in a final set, 7 sets, going all the way in this one. Tell us your thoughts, Dan.
I mean, being honest, didn't go the way I thought it would. And that was the case right up to the final set. If being completely honest, I called this game completely wrong because I thought it was going to be a battle, and it was. And I think we've seen so many times that the way to get past Nathan Aspinall is not in a battle. Like, you have to dominate him and beat him and outplay him. And yes, there was a case that Josh Rock has the game to do that, but he didn't today. This was a massive battle that scrapped both ways. There was unforced errors, let's say. There was forced errors in terms of the way the pressure was going. There was a few times I was sort of texting around in the WhatsApp group, and I thought that the pressure was getting to Nathan. His finishing was nowhere near what he would expect in those moments, in those tight, battling pressure moments when the crowd are involved. That's often when we see the best finishing from Nathan Aspinall. That didn't quite happen today. That element of his game, and I think the difference was the best part of Nathan Aspinall, what makes him absolute box office, what makes him good in the Premier League, and what's got him all of the titles and plaudits that he has, was the one thing that was missing today. And it was the one thing that really shone through in Josh Rock's game. And I appreciate I've spent the last couple of minutes talking pretty much exclusively about Nathan Aspinall and not about the fact that Josh Rock has just beaten the number 9 in the world at the World Championships. And that's a huge achievement. Even though he was a favourite going into the match, a favourite by every bookie. The bookies odds for the tournament odds going into this game, Josh Rock was at 12, so it was 12-1. Nathan Aspinall was 33-1 going into this game, which is bonkers.
Well, clearly not, Dan, because we have a result that goes in our favour. And
the bookies have covered themselves very well there.
Spoiler alert, Josh Rock's odds have just shortened significantly as well. Look, I don't disagree with how you've analysed that match, though. We say we've just spoken an awful lot about Nathan Aspinall. Josh Rock was fantastic, but Josh Rock has picked up, you mentioned errors. And for me, this was on the errors of Nathan Aspinall. So many chances. He's had 52 darts at a double compared to Josh Rock's 33. Actually won more legs in this match and still managed to find a way to lose it as well. The only thing that Aspinall was really missing was a ton plus check out of this. Other than that, he's dominated the stats outside of the doubling percentage as well. It just feels like top form Nathan Aspinall or Nathan Aspinall that Josh Rock has done to Nathan Aspinall what I feel like Nathan Aspinall has done to a lot of people for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I want 100, and that's the thing. That's the bit that was missing. I think we mentioned in the first game, and I said, most common used phrase, right things at the right time. Today, Nathan Aspinall did the wrong things at the wrong time. Okay, and he did, and because he was playing a Josh Rock that was completely unfit, he didn't get away with any of them. Against a lot of the field at this stage in the tournament, Nathan Aspinall would have got away with would have got away with that today, and would have got through that game 4-3, 4-2, against most of the other qualifiers that come through that route. But against Josh Rock, he didn't get away with it, and he did the wrong things at the wrong time. And Rock was always in that position to capitalise, and did keep his head every now and again. I wondered whether can Josh Rock keep his composure in this situation that he hasn't been in before. We have seen people do some remarkable things on debut at the Ali Pali, and this is starting to become a bit remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit indeed. There is one more question, and apologies, but again, it is about Nathan Aspinall. It is about the amount of regrips we're seeing with the darts, just that base, that setting up before he gets the dart into his hand in the right place. The concern is that we see it more, it is far more noticeable, and it happens a lot more often when under pressure.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's got anything to do with the grip. We call it a regrip because that's what he's doing. He's putting the guy and he's putting the dart out of his throwing stance, so to speak, and then having resetting it. I think it's a lot to do with the situation and the crowd, and it's a bit unusual because he's a player that for so much of his career has very much fed off the crowd. We've seen him turn when the crowd's against him and try and get them up and conflict with the crowd and really fight for it. But it does seem, and today was an interesting one for him because it was a different sort of pressure, I think. It wasn't so much crowd pressure, but the pressure against who he was playing and at what stage of the tournament. But I think that did manifest a lot in. I don't think it's a physical thing. I don't think it's to do with the way he's getting all of the data.
Part of the reason why phrase the question the way I did, and the way that I think we're talking about is because it arises so much when he's under pressure. It is known that I hate saying the word and I hate attributing it to people, but Adam's just mentioned it in the chat room as well. It is known that what Eric Bristow went through, what Bo Greaves went through previously, etc., is a fear of missing. And when you're a player that feeds off the scraps the way that Nathan does, that absolutely loves a battle, there are so many tense moments in there. There are so many moments for you to get into. And basically that's a battle of how long you can outlast your opponent in those tense moments. If you keep going through what Nathan is doing in those tense moments, and that's how you're making a career of it, eventually they're either not going to pay off or your mind is going to betray you. And that's a little bit where I am right now. If Aspinall is, I want to see them regrips gone as soon as possible, because the longer they exist in his game, the longer I think there's a fear that something might just go wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I suppose either side of that, because none of us really know, what's going on in his head, how he's, where he is at that stage. And again, I don't even like to say the word because it's too overused and too talked about. But is he suffering worse than what we all think, but managing it really well through regripping and because we don't see it in his throw. It doesn't manifest in his action. Where we see that those interruptions are with the regripping. So is it worse than we think? He's managing it incredibly well, potentially. Time will tell, I suppose.
It will indeed. Right, apologies that was very, very Nathan Aspinall heavy, considering he was beaten in the match. But we're going to speak an awful lot about Josh Rock for an awful lot of years ahead.
Isn't he? That's the thing. He's going to talk about him again.
Yeah, and the biggest comment we could play, Josh, in that moment is that for somebody who's never been in this position, that for the rest of this tournament, every single match that Josh Rock plays in is the biggest match of his career up until that point. Even the World Youth Championship final, right now, this trumps all of that. That part of the draw has just opened up a little bit, potentially. He's just taken out one of the very, very top seeds and one of the more informed players when you look at people who are above Nathan Aspinall in the rankings. And in every single one of those key moments in the match, he never looked like he was flustered. He never looked like he was going to flap. And that's the biggest compliment you can pay to somebody at Josh's age in his position, is that he's just made of steel.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting, isn't it? Like it's. I'm desperately trying to not get too worked up at this stage.
Yeah, let's hear then from Josh Rock and see what he had to say at his post-match press conference.
It was fantastic because we were chanting my name a lot, and to be fair, the first set they were against Nathan, and I said the crowd is against you. That was my only words. We spoke after the break, and he says I know. But it was up to him to deal with it. And sadly, he didn't deal with it as I know he can, because he's up the crowd, of course, a lot of times. But I was so proud they were chanting my name, because it just felt fantastic, them chanting my name.
What an interesting point.
Maybe the crowd were just so drunk they didn't see the little emblem in the middle of the flag and thought it was an England cross.
There isn't half a chance.
Because they're not too kind to anybody that doesn't celebrate St George's Day, should we put it that way? On to the final game of the afternoon, and this was a pretty comfortable win for Johnny Clayton. I say that every single set has gone the distance here, but even in that moment in 5 sets, you still just gave Johnny the edge at every moment, didn't you?
Yeah, he was again, I think a little bit like the first game that we talked about with Dimi and Ratajski. He played well in the moments where he needed to play. He won all of the little contests, the little micro contests that take place in set play. Johnny won them. And he held his nerve when he needed to, and again, he checked out when it was most important to do. The legs. Like Brendan picked up 11 legs in that game. Picked up 11 legs and got 1 set, which is ordinarily bizarre. The maths almost doesn't make sense. But it was just that. It was just Johnny doing what he needed to do in the right moments. And whereas as Dolan was picking up those legs, what he wasn't doing is putting Johnny under pressure, and he wasn't taking the game to him at all. And the scoreline looks like in reality what the game was, which was a very comfortable win. Dolan did well on his own throw, but it wasn't a particularly competitive game, sadly. But Johnny did really well, and exciting things to come for the Ferret. I think that the next game that he's in for is a bit of a box office pick, isn't it? I think that we'll see a lot of video packages. We'll see lots of people getting very excited about his next match.
Well, I actually think now is a good time to talk about that one, because we said pretty much all there is to say on this game. But Johnny, who hasn't perhaps had the results this year since the Premier League in the league format, hasn't gone and picked up a TV title like he has done for the last 2 years, whether that be ranked or non-ranked or whatever else. There was a concern heading into Minehead that he was in absolutely no form whatsoever. And he's still not quite producing the ton plus averages over and over again. There is still that mid to low 90s game that Johnny is just currently playing at. But with an awful lot on the line in this next game against Josh Rock, Johnny is borderline Premier League in that conversation right now. If Josh Rock goes and does the job on him and goes and beats whoever else is in their quarter, his name becomes very, very hard to ignore for that Premier League, because of the fact he's young and he's produced that, and he's done it off the back of a World Youth Championship, and the numbers are there to back it up that Josh Rock is a professional ready to make that step up. In the past, when players have gone on a silly run like Jamie Lewis, his seasonal average and his stats and his scoring averages and everything else that can be tracked throughout the season weren't there to back it up. Josh is up. He is ready to make this jump. And if he keeps going deep, he's going to be very, very hard to ignore, even as a 20-year-old that you want to protect and don't want to put him in that environment and go, actually, no, he might be too young for it. If he's going to keep producing at this level, at some point you have to go, forget that age, forget that protection. He's good enough now and he needs to be there.
Well, I think because, I won't bore everybody, we had a lengthy conversation on the M1 last week about the Premier League and about how it should be seen and what the selection criteria. But what I do think is, I think the format of Premier League matches very much suits Josh Rock's game.
Yeah,
I think he is a player, and we've seen players that have deserved to be in the Premier League and got in it, but their style of play and their game and the format doesn't suit them compared to the players they meet every week. I think that format suits Josh Rock's game probably better than most other formats that he's going to get involved in over the course of the season. To turn up on a night, one-on-one, shoot out against somebody else over that short form, I think is perfect. And that's one of the reasons why I think he will end up being the conversation if he has a run through here. The biggest question for me, I don't think we're going to see... we might, but I don't think we're going to see a great deal in terms of big level step up in this next game from Josh Rock. I think he'll continue to progress through the tournament. We might see a couple of points on his average. What I'm really interested to see is how many 140s we see from Johnny Clayton. And I think that is the key to that game. I think if Johnny Clayton can start hitting 140s consistently, the way that he has done in TV tournaments and in big matches, in big important matches when the pressure's on, that's when we'll really see a proper game. At the minute, if they both turn up at the level they've both been playing, Josh Rock will probably, serve that. He'll probably win 4-2. If Johnny can find somewhere near the game that we've seen from him in big TV tournaments in recent years, we could start rattling in 140s early doors, we're in for a proper game, I think.
We are indeed. Let's then hear from the Ferret in his post-match press conference.
Probably on the averages today, yeah, maybe, but who knows? My kind of game.
I was going to say, you play this underdog tag well, so would you like to go in as underdog? Then?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, definitely. I play better as an underdog.
What a weird set of circumstances that we have here.
Premier League champion 2 years ago, picked up 4 major titles, won the Premier League phase this year, beaten in the semi-finals, and he's itching to be an underdog against the 20-year-old world youth champion because it suits him better.
It's wacky, isn't it? Like, but we do see that. Like, there's a lot. The problem is half of the top 32 want to be underdogs, and they can't because they're all in the top 32.
Aspinall relishes it. Wade loves it. You look at players like that, I go, I don't want to be favourite for this. I want you to be favourite. I want you to be slagging me off, Wade Marder, or whoever else they want to call out for it, who 9 times out of 10 hasn't actually done anything wrong, by the way. It wasn't a pop at Wayne. That was just the example to be used. Gary Anderson's another who loves a go at Wade Marder, even if he said absolutely nothing about it. Just because they want somebody to say something. The New England Patriots are one of the most successful NFL teams ever in the last 20 years with the amount of Super Bowls they won. And every single time they're sat there going, nobody thought we could do this. You've just won 7 Lombardis in the last 20 years. Give it a rest, boys. We're not buying it anymore, sort of thing. And some of these, I think, are pretty similar as well. On to the other contender for game of the day, I think, to open the afternoon session. Not sure many would have picked this out as game of the day at the start of the day, given the amount of players and quality and the seedings involved. But Jim Williams versus Gabriel Clemens was sensational.
Yeah, just everything we love about this tournament and about set play and about just players that are like, let's be honest, that you couldn't split them in terms of in terms of their approach to that game. It swung so many times backwards and forwards as to who looked the most likely, and sometimes the person that looked the most likely wasn't in the lead. It was just such a wonderful demonstration of how much fun set play can be to watch, and that was a proper battle, like a really dig in the trenches, hold your nerve. Again, I was surprised. I didn't think Gabe Clemens would come. My 50 pence was on Jim Williams today, and there was times in that match where I was already spending my winnings. But I mean, top performance from Clemens, really, really good. Showed a lot that I didn't think he had, just in terms of nerve, the composure that he showed up there against it. Faced match starts, came back. Jim Williams, I think, will take a lot from that game, even though he didn't win that game. I think he'll take a lot from the performance. I think he'll take a lot from the way that he went out and the game that he played. Mismatched starts, but not the end of the world, really. Really thoroughly enjoyable game, though. Really, really good.
I guess the way to sum this one up is that the criticism that we have of each player didn't exist today. Clemens, we're like, where's his A game on TV? Needs to be better on the outer ring, firing the maxims like we've seen him do on a Pro Tour. Jim Williams, I guess the criticism of him sometimes is that he's a little bit timid. That just wasn't there. They just got on with the game. They both produced in the key moments. Clemens, the 157, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, look, when you look down the numbers again, which is what we like to do at this point of the show as well, 39 tons for Jim Williams compared to Clemens' 32. He's outscored him on the 140s, 25-24. He's thrown one less 180 at him. Both had 2-ton plus checkouts. You've got 65% on the checkouts for Jim Williams. He's averaged 98, hit 65% of his doubles, and won the same amount of legs as his opponent with 14 less attempts at double than Clemens, and has come out a loser in this match. Like, that only can happen in set play.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, it was a perfect example of what set play is about, how it works, and about those key moments that make the biggest difference in the way the match is structured. Well, that is why I think that Williams will take a lot from it, because he did play incredibly well. He played really, really well on telly, and that is what we want to see more of from him in the PDC. We want to see him play more on telly. Just smashing that. Really, really good game. But brilliant from Clemens as well, because he was completely out of that game at one point. There was a point where he looked completely dead and buried, and just came back and did tough. Well, came back from a really tough situation and did a great job.
got the same goatee as the Undertaker as well, back from the dead. Jack says, "Can Gabriel win again?" I think, to be
Ever?
honest, lads, I presume in this tournament, and keep going deeper, we'll run into either Suits or Danny
Yeah.
Noppert in the next round. I mean, if this level Gabriel Clemens turns up, not only can he win again, he can keep on winning.
Yeah.
This 97 average, 40% on the doubles will take you far in this tournament if you can produce it at the right moments, which he's done here against a very, very good Jim Williams. Up next, Danny Noppert or Alan Suter, potentially Gerwin Price, Ryan Searle, or Jose de Souza after that. But if this level of Clemens keeps turning up, he has a real chance, because this is back-to-back very, very solid performances. The other against Willie O'Connor, who was tipped to be... Well, look, when we first saw this World Championship draw, we identified the fact that there was excitement around Bo Greaves, who was playing Willie O'Connor, but not just because she was playing Willie O'Connor, because Gabriel Clemens was identified as one of the 32 seeds that you wanted to have a crack at on TV.
Yeah.
He's proving everybody wrong right now.
Absolutely. Like he really has, because he was, of those 32 seeds. I think he got an honourable mention from me as the seeds in danger. It wasn't really so much to do with his draw, more his own ability on television to post a big performance. I do think, in terms of the draw, like, there's going to be a really interesting semi-finalist potentially from that section of the draw. Really interesting. And it could be any one of those three, like any one of them.
It could indeed. Let's then hear from the German giant and see what he had to say after his win over Jim Williams.
It's hard. Normally, I must take the 3-1. Then you go in the break with 2-2. It's hard, and then he make the break, and I'm 3-2 down and 2-0 down, and then you have nothing to lose, and you must put your chances, and this time I make it.
It's scary how much that nothing to lose can just free up a player completely. Just go, right, I'm just going to chuck, and it comes off. It's when it switches back from nothing to lose to hang about, am I actually about to pull this off, that the players have to manage that.
That's where we're at in this game, where it went to the wire. Really cool. Superb game.
Also, I absolutely hate Cam if he's watching, but I cannot not look at Gabriel Clemens and think Al from Al's Toy Barn in Toy Story. It's just gets you, that one.
Obviously, what we have in our house, the kids all laugh if he gets interviewed because they think he sounds like the three little pigs from Shrek.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That's exactly where I was going to go. On to the penultimate game of the evening. And despite the fact he had lost to Raymond van Barneveld in their last 6 straight meetings, I believe, Gerwin Price gets the job done over the former 5-time champion of the world in pretty convincing fashion. Dan, straight sets victory for the Iceman. Could he be lifting the Sid Waddell in front of fans for the first time?
I mean, maybe. I don't, like, if I'm completely honest, I'm just, like, I think the message I sent to you, like, it just anticlimax. Like, Price was dominant, but let's be honest, that wasn't like proper Gezi Price. Like, I don't think he's hitting Gezi Price levels at the moment. I thought he played well with nothing coming back at him. And the game for me, whilst it was, potentially soon to be world number 1 again, if he can depend on what he can do. It was just anticlimactic for me. I think we'd all been built. It was probably Sky's fault for all of those, preparation, idents and promotional packages we had to watch for last week about Barney and Price. But just a bit underwhelming. Like, and yeah, I guess he put a good performance in. But that's for me what it was. It was a good performance. With very little coming back, we saw very, very little snippets. I mean, the 147, it just gives you little glimmers from Barney. But that's for me. That's all we saw tonight was glimmers. Professional performance from Gezi, got the job done, but a bit underwhelming.
Do we think that was deliberate on Price's part? Like, he can't massively influence the level of Barney that's going to arrive on the hockey to start with, but you get the first set done. I don't feel like there was too much emotion from Gezi tonight. We saw the odd moment, but I don't think he wanted to fire Raymond up, given the way that their last couple of games have gone, the big comeback. There's still a little bit of scar in there. So to just keep it calm, just get the job done, get over the line, earn himself 20 more attempts at double. It was all just a little bit easy paced for Gezi, but that probably suited him given their history on TV.
Yeah, a professional performance. And if I'm honest, I think probably the thing that he did best tonight, which he doesn't generally do particularly well, was exactly what you say there, is he did keep himself very measured, controlled himself very well, didn't start screaming and shouting at the most mundane of checkouts when they weren't particularly important, which you've seen from in the past. It was all right in terms of entertainment. You know, very like highlight news in sense. Barney's gone out. Price moves on to the next round, but you know, for the viewing public, bit drab.
Bit drab, indeed. Let's see what he had to say in his post-match press conference.
Yeah, obviously, I just wanted to win. I wanted to get to the last 16 of this tournament first and foremost. But yeah, I wanted to just get a win over Raymond so he can just zip it a little bit and not keep talking how many times he beat me on TV. I don't think he'd been on the TV on any TV events for the last couple of years, so it's pretty difficult to beat him if he's not there. But every time, obviously Premier League, I think I was up 5-6, whatever it was, and he came back and drew and things like that. But you know, I think he played me when I was just starting, so 2-3 years ago. But yeah, when I'm at my game, I think he knows that I'm going to beat him.
Match, drab, interview. Not really, but that's not really Gezi's style either, is it?
Reverend is what I'll go with on that one.
Yeah. On to the final match of the evening. As if there hadn't been enough drama at Alexandra Palace on our return to darts following the Christmas break, the reign of Peter Wright as world champion in the PDC is over for a second time. The Scot is beaten pretty comfortably 4-1 by the Belgian Kim Huybrechts. What a day for Belgian darts, by the way. Dimi already progressing, and then Kim Huybrechts getting a job done over Peter Wright. I don't even know where to start with this one, Dan. It wasn't the level that we expected from Wright. It was a little bit scrappy from both at times, but Kim Huybrechts, much like players earlier on in the day, the Johnny Clayton performance, just had his number.
He did, but I give Kim Huybrechts a little bit more credit than I will give to those that came through in those circumstances earlier. Because again, you know, I think that was exactly how that game was. They weren't a mile apart from each other in terms of the levels. You know, their averages were within 0.2%. I think they didn't blow each other away at all. Huybrechts did the right things at the right time, and he executed what he needed to do. But Peter Wright completely just didn't turn up tonight for me. It was an absolute mile away from what we normally would expect. But Huybrechts, I think, in terms of the challenge I mentioned about what he did different to everybody else, is he did it against the defending world champion, amongst all of the pomp and circumstance that goes along with Peter Wright. And it goes along with everyone in Ali Palace singing Peter Wright, and it goes with his entrance, and it goes with him dancing up and down the stage, and all that stuff and distraction that comes along with the fact that you're playing the defending champion and it's Peter Wright. So I give Kim Huybrechts a great deal of credit for, amongst all of that chaos and playing the defending champion, just being able to stick to the task at hand, and did some of the stuff he did was superb in that game. You know, the highest checkout he posted was 100. That 100 was brilliant because there was pressure on him, and if he didn't do it, what Huybrechts did, I think he defended very well, because whilst Peter played a stinker for Peter, he didn't play a stinker in terms of professional darts. You know, he did all right. It wasn't a complete disaster. He turned up and posted a 91 average. He was all right.
Yeah.
But Kim Huybrechts was under pressure, and he took out checkouts under pressure, and he took out doubles under pressure, and he kept pace with one of the best scorers in darts on his game. Peter Wright was just Peter Wright, wasn't he? I text around, predicted Peter Wright changes his darts within the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it happened within 3 minutes. And then there we go, change the darts. Then I changed the darts back. And then as soon as he changed them back, I thought, oh, we're done.
And then he changed again. And then he changed shape a little bit. And I guess that's concerned. And actually, like you said, dealing with a Peter Wright performance and everything that goes on with it, with the walk-on and the crowd, etc., being a player stood behind Peter Wright when he does start chopping and changing with his darts must be a little bit distracting as well. Because if you look up at the board and think, hang on, when's he done that behind me again? Why is he doing that? He's just won a leg. Why is he chopped back to this? You must start thinking about Peter's game as well, as somebody stood behind it, as much as the fans and as much as us at home and as much as everybody else does it. That cannot be easy to block
Absolutely.
out.
And I do think that's why, as I say, it was a very similar performance from Kim Huybrechts than we've seen from other players today, especially in those other 4-1 finishes. But I do give him extra credit because it is Peter Wright on a stage at Ali Pali is a circus, and it is a circus, and just the way Peter Wright is on stage is a bit of a circus. So I think to be able to hold it and do those key, come out on top in those key moments amongst that circus, and despite of it, is really admirable. I sent a selfie of me and Kim Huybrechts around a group chat at 1-1 and said, "There's my prediction," and Peter didn't get another set after that. He fell apart, I think.
Scotland fans, you know where to send your hate. No, I'm joking. Definitely don't do that. We need to talk about Peter Wright, though, because this is the second time he has failed to get beyond the third round as defending champion. Look, winning 2 world titles is not a walk in the park. Let's not write that off completely. But there's something been a little bit different about Peter this year. He's had health problems himself. We've seen health issues with Jo, and we hope that she's all better now, she's back out of hospital, etc. His mind just didn't seem to be on darts an awful lot this year. Obviously, we missed him from the World Series at times. He's had a big gap between round 1 and round 2 here, which potentially doesn't suit him. We've seen that before. It's the second time he's fallen in the same position, basically. He sneaked through that first round, have a big break, and he comes back with different darts and is chopping and changing and whatever. But look, there was conversation 2 months ago that Peter Wright goes on to win this, dominates as world number 1, and opens up a massive gap. Now, are we a little bit concerned about how much he could fall, or is he another that loves the underdog tag a little bit more, and this will be a kick up the backside to push on and go again? Because let's not forget, by the way, Peter Wright's not getting any younger here.
I'm not so sure. I tell you what I think is, Premier League aside, let's see where he's at in the summer. Let's see what we see from him. UK Open. Let's see what we see. That early part of the season. See what he's like on tour, because we're going to see a lot of Players' Championship events that Peter is generally turns up to and is consistently good at. And let's see where his game at. But he's going to go into the back end of the year defending money. Yeah, big money. Like this front, at the minute, like he wasn't really, he might lose his number 1 spot, but if one of the other top 4 wins the World Championships, he'll lose his number 1 spot. Yeah. If someone else wins it, he won't. He'll go into the new year as number 1 still. But once we get the summer out of the way and we head into the back half of the season, he's going to be defending a big pile of money. And if his game is not clicking by then we could really see some damage done in terms of his ranking.
We could. The damage was done by Kim Huybrechts this evening. Let's hear from the Hurricane in his post-match press conference.
It's one of the biggest wins, not one of my best wins, but it's one of the biggest wins. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Worlds makes your season. If you had a terrible season and you have a good World Championships, quarterfinals, semi-finals, doesn't matter. It just makes up for everything. And the other way around as well. You can have a brilliant season and you can lose the first or the second round. It ruins your season. mentally wise. So the World Championships is the biggest tournament of the year. No matter what anyone says, Peter Wright's one of the best players. He's won majors, but this game ruins his season, and World Championships is massive.
Stick the boot in, Kim.
that penultimate line is a bit like, actually, everything you said up until that point is bang on. Yeah, big game for you. Yeah, but I've just sorry though, I've just ruined Peter Wright's season. I like the way that Kim talks, and I like the way he comes across. So he's been around a long time. Let's not forget he was a Premier League player a decade ago, and everything else that comes with that as well. So I think he spoke pretty well there, pretty comfortably, until he did decide to just stick the boot in on Peter Wright. You know what time it is now, folks. The prediction time. Reminder, best of 7 is what we are looking for throughout. I'll try and read out as many from the chat room as possible. I appreciate there's plenty of you watching this evening, though, and at some point we might just have to move on, but we'll see how we go. Dan, straight to you then for the first one. Ryan Searle versus Jose de Souza.
This will be a Ryan Searle victory, and he will win 4-2.
Interesting. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to say Jose de Souza beats Ryan Searle 4-2. Who did he beat in the last round?
Who?
Jose. Scroll it. Simon Whitlock. Oh, it wasn't pretty, was it?
No.
Oh, why have I done that? Oh, I'm still going with it. I've said it now. That's it.
Good on you.
I don't know why, but I've said it. I've gone with it. Harry's got Searle 4-3, as has G's got Searle 4-2 though. Lee's got Searle 4-3. Well, there's a lot of Searle. There aren't many people backing de Souza for.
A lot of wisdom in this chat room tonight.
Yeah, a lot of people going against me. Adam's got Searle 4-2. Jack's got Searle 4-3. Kieran's got Searle 4-3. Daniel's gone with me. He's got 4-3 de Souza, which would be fantastic if you weren't a Chelsea fan. Yeah, not good. On to the second match of the afternoon, and it is Danny Noppert against Alan Suter. This one could be really good watch.
I think this will be the game of the day. There's my prediction. And I think it's going to be Alan Suter 4-3.
Oh, I disagree with you again, Dan. This doesn't normally happen on this show.
This is good fun.
I'm going to go Danny Noppert. I think he just went through the motion a little bit in round 2. But in terms of performers this year, Danny Noppert has been right up there for me. And as good as Suits has been the last few months, that resurgence, he's been working an awful lot over this break. Don't know how much practice he's actually been able to put in. I'm going with the Dutchman. I just think there's something about Danny Noppert right now that I just don't want to play him at all.
Well, don't forget, I know we've talked about how well he played today, but we've talked about in the past where you would target your route through. You know, the winner plays Gabe Clemens for a spot in the semi-final. That's an incentive, isn't it?
Yeah. Quarter-final.
Sorry.
Yeah. Predictions from the chat room. Jack's got Noppert 4-2. Tommy's got Noppert 4-3. Preston's jumping in on Heavy Metal 4-2 from the previous one. HJV's got Noppy 4-3. Jesus got the same. Harry's got Noppert 4-2. Adam's got Noppert 4-1. Lee's got Noppert 4-3. Bob Noppert 4-2. Kieran Noppert 4-2. Sam saying Suter the surprise. Joe's got Noppert 4-2. Preston's got Suits 4-3. Aaron's got Noppert 4-1. And Jamie says Noppy wins last leg decider. So we're one each, with the chat room agreeing with us. Dan, let's see how we round out the afternoon session. The Flying Scotsman, Gary Anderson against Chris Dobie.
I don't even want to watch this game because I want them both to win. Like, ideally, 4-4 and they both go through. Like, that's the idea.
As Mr. from the North in the group that you are.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can only do one thing, unfortunately, and I apologise to Mr. Anderson for this, but I'm gonna go 4-2, Chris Dobie.
I'm gonna disagree with you again. It's the Alexandra Palace, and it's Gary Anderson. His record in that building is just ridiculous. And there were enough signs in that previous round. I am fearful of the 98, 99 average from Chris Dobey, rocks up 40% on the doubles, blows Gary away, and then doesn't make the most of it in this tournament. That is my one. Like you said, I like both of these two as players. I like both of these two as people. My worry here is that if Chris Dobey is going to be the one to blow Gary Anderson out of this tournament once again, then he needs to do something with it in the rest of the tournament.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And that is, in a way, like, Dobey's one of those players that, like, I think everybody, if you watch him enough, you know he's got something. There is a real spark in there of potential. But for a long time now, we just haven't seen that all click and him really kicking into gear. Could beating Gary Anderson in the World Championships at Alexandra Palace be the trigger that kicks that gear on, that gives him that boost, gives him that? I genuinely hope that it is. But either way, I'll be a happy man, because I'll either be supporting a Chris Dobey that's overcome Gary Anderson in fantastic fashion, or like Gary Anderson is on it and we could be back in Dreamland again.
Gary Anderson is on it and on a collision course for a Rob Cross or Mervyn King last 16 and a Michael Van Gerwen quarterfinal in the World Championships.
There are no losers here.
In this entire part of the draw, I think the only way that darts loses if Sulovic causes an upset on Van Gerwen, and I don't mean that. I just think in terms of watching people, look, even Mervyn King isn't his best, but he's watchable because he's got antics on stage. Like, not the most watchable, but if he does beat Rob Cross, it isn't the biggest loss. If we see Mensah beat Michael Van Gerwen and start taking the pace out of game against Dirk van Dijvenbode or Ross Smith or etc., it just makes viewing more difficult. Whilst fantastic for Mensah, you're not blaming anybody for the way they play. Predictions in the chat room from this one: Tommy's got Dobey 4-2, G's got Gary 4-3, Harry's got Anderson 4-1, Lee's got 4-2 for Gando, Kieran's got Dobey 4-3, Jamie's got draw. You're not allowed that. Get off the fence. Them are the rules. Preston's got Dobey 4-3, HV Gary 4-2, Bob's got Gando 4-3, Adam's got Dobey 4-3, Daniel's got Gary 4-2. Anderson Dobey had an epic year a few years ago, didn't they? Ando wins in second gear 4-2. Wasn't that the match play, or have I made that one up?
Yeah.
Maybe it was the Worlds. Maybe it was the Worlds. I'll be honest, mate. I don't remember yesterday right now. Gary 4-2 depends on Gary, says Jack. Aaron says Gary to make a statement 4-2. He will own the double 20 bed. And Jack says, come on, Gary. On to... lost my page. Scroll. The evening session. Wow, what a game this is to respond. Joe Cullen taking on Damon Heta.
4-1, Joe Cullen. Too much, I think. I'm not going to bore everybody with endless conversation about Damon Heta on the telly, because he was great on the telly last week. He was great. I just think Cullen's just a bit of a level above in terms of big match, big crowd. Really positive experience from Cullen being in the Premier League in terms of those big moments, big crowds, everybody excited. I just think he'll keep his composure and close it out relatively comfortably.
Oh, I'm going to agree. I think the scoreline's a little bit closer, but I am going to back Joe Cullen. I just think that we keep saying this. Damon Heta has a superb ceiling to his game on the floor and on the tour in general this year. He has been exceptional, but in front of the cameras, he has faltered a little bit. And even if he doesn't quite get there or does get there, Joe Cullen has the best win percentage from worst performances on tour this year. He's won with a lower average more than anybody else on tour that we normally associate with Wadey and stealing that. When Joe Cullen has learnt to win with his B game, that makes a player dangerous, and Joe Cullen's done that a lot more.
That's exactly what. Yeah, that's what got him into the Premier League in a sense, because that's what got him through those tournaments and got him deep in those tournaments. was just that B game clicking and being able to get over the line with it.
Predictions from the chat room. Tommy's got Heta 4-3. G's got Cullen 4-2, as is Harry. Excuse me. It's a pair of 4-3 predictions in Heta's favour of HJV and Jack, although Lee has gone the opposite way with Cullen 4-3. Bob's got Heta 4-2. Adam's got Heta just 4-3 tiebreak last set. Kieran's got Cullen 4-2. Joe says Anderson Derby was 2018-19 World Championships. It was. Don't remember yesterday. Phil Bars is in. Who on earth is that? Joe's got Cullen 4-2. Barzy's got Joe 4-2 as well. Oh, if you've got time to get involved in the chat room, Philip, you should be doing more work. On to the penultimate game of the day, and it is Michael van Gerwen against Mensur Suljovic. There are an awful lot of people that have Michael van Gerwen as favourite for the title still right now. This will be good to see. I think in terms of getting back into the tournament, he was comfortable pre-Christmas. If he settles straight in with a big performance against Mensur Suljovic right now, I think his odds shorten even more. Does it come?
For me, anything that isn't 4-0 MVG will be surprising. I can't see anything other than 4-0 MVG tomorrow. Who knows? But I just think too much, too up for it. Peter going out tonight. Like I think you cannot overstate what Peter going out tonight will do to the performance of a Michael van Gerwen who's coming on to the stage less than 24 hours after that. I just think it's a very, very comfortable 4-0 MVG.
Well, Gezi winning 4-0 as well, but with extra gears needed in the performance level, if Van Gerwen comes out and averages over a ton again in back-to-back rounds of the World Championship, it is statement sent, isn't it? So
it needs to be statements, but Peter going out, Gezi winning 4-0, Josh Rock winning, like Michael van Gerwen is going to want to put on a Michael van Gerwen performance tomorrow. And he's not going to want to do right things at the right time. And he doesn't want to get through it. He wants to absolutely smash that game to bits 4-0. And there are players that would fight back against that, and I don't think at this moment in time Mensur Suljovic is one of them. I just think it happens. I just think he steamrolls him.
I'm going to give Mensur a set though. I'm going to say 4-1. I just think the pace at some point might throw Michael. Is what I'm going with that one. HCV's got 4-0 MVG. Tommy's got MVG 4-1. G's got MVG 4-1 as well. Harry's got 4-3 Van Gerwen. Daniel's got 4-0 MVG. Adam says MVG easy 4-0. Bob's got 4-1 MVG. Barzy's got 4-0 Mensur. Surely not. Has he been hacked? No, he's just written 4-0 and I'm just going to attribute it how I want. Be more
I assumed he meant Suljovic.
Yeah.
Put 4-0.
Everyone else can see that, can't it? Phil's just written 4-0. It hasn't said who, so we presume it's for Mensur. Jack's got MVG 4-1. Joe's got MVG wins 4-zip. Easy work. MVG still struggle on the doubles. Can't win it. 4-2 over Mensur. Preston's got MVG 4-0. Gentle does his head in and wins 4-3 at snail's pace, just pinching legs. MVG gets more legs. So what? I love some of the predictions we get here. Superb from you guys as we close out the evening and the show and everything else that goes with it.
If that happens, I'll take you to a farm. I'll pay your train fare. I'll pay for your train. You can come up here. I'll take you out for a Palmo if that happens.
Please. I'm itching for a Palmo. Got no other reason to visit Newcastle other than to just have a Palmo, but I'm itching for a Palmo. The final game of the day and the final game we're going to look ahead to is Michael Smith against Martin Schindler. I think Michael Smith's involvement in this tournament has been passed over a little bit right now. He just got the job done in the first round. All the talk is on Van Gerwen, Price, Wright, etc. But winning this tournament for Michael Smith can launch him to world number one. It can also...
That happened about Michael Smith winning a tournament was that Sky are no longer using the John Cena "My Time Is Now" idents, which I've completely fallen in love with. Like having a little bit of John Cena mixed in with some Michael Smith was like absolutely brilliant. and I'm devastated that seems to have disappeared. But no, I don't know if that's a good thing because, like, let's be honest, every major tournament for the last 2 years, we've talked loads. We've talked on these streams about Michael Smith. We've hardly mentioned him. No, Sky aren't mentioning him. Nobody's talking about Michael Smith.
Do we think that suits him? Because when he's gone deep to finals earlier in the year, there's been a couple of times where we've actually passed over him. It's been, right, this is the chance for MVG or Price to send a statement and build that thing over there. Oh, Michael Smith's in the final again.
Yeah.
Do we think the Josh Rock hype and everything else for Michael Smith in a quarter that is...
Peter Wright going out, Gezi beating Barney 4-0, whatever MVG does tomorrow, Josh Rock being in, they are all, in my opinion, amazing things for Michael Smith.
Yeah.
Because whilst I miss that John Cena lovely, beautiful video package with Michael Smith, I don't think Michael Smith does. I don't think Michael Smith misses that one bit. And I think he's happy to just keep turning up and winning darts matches. I will think about that when it comes along.
It's almost a staple, isn't it? Like the Chizzy Rascal, Dizzy Rascal bling necklace will roll out occasionally. My prediction for this one, I'm going to go 4-2 Smith. I think Schindler's playing well. I think there's opportunity to take a couple of sets, but I do expect Michael Smith to get over the line in those moments. Predictions from the chat room in this one. I'm going to say Happy Christmas to you as well, Colin. Thanks for the wishes for 2023 to myself and to you, Dan. Tommy's got Smith 4-0. G's got Bully Boy 4-0 as well. Preston's got 4-1. Lee's got Michael Smith 4-2. HJV exactly the same. Harry's got Smith 4-0. Bob's got Schindler 4-3, the first to go that way. Colin's got Michael Smith 4-3. Jack's got Smith 4-1. Adam has got Smith 4-3. Schindler playing well at the minute. Jack's got Smith 4-2, as has Joe. 180 Festo could well be. Aaron says Michael Smith, the most talented player on the tour, can only beat himself, beats the wall 4-1. And that pretty much wraps up tonight's show. Somehow we've spoken for even longer than we managed to for any other night together, Dan, in 2 less matches to discuss and 2 less matches to preview, which is just how it goes sometimes, isn't it?
High quality content we provided.
We'll leave that for everyone else to judge. We just turn up and nonsense at silly o'clock in the morning. A big thank you to everybody for joining us on tonight's show. And if you're listening back to this as a podcast, we really do appreciate all of your support throughout the PDC World Darts Championship so far. If you haven't done so already, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our content, including all of the interviews in full that we've played you clips of throughout tonight's show. A big thank you to Betfred for sponsoring all of our coverage throughout the PDC World Darts Championship, to everybody in the chat room for getting involved this evening, including you, Phil Bars, and to Dan for joining me on tonight's show. We'll be back tomorrow night, similar time, once the action's finished, for the Fallout Bar, so you know exactly where to be. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you very, very soon.